You guys do know, and I say this every series, and for the most part, it's happened. You guys do know Kyrie's coming. Like, we are about to see. We're about to see.
Boston, I don't care about that.
This ain't the other teams, man. This is
so what? This is Kyrie Irving.
Yeah. Well, I'll feel you. Kyrie, they're all going to be games, man.
That's it right there. What
does that mean, though? He gonna make it. I'm
good.
Has he tween?
Sure,
that's fine. That ain't gonna beat Boston, though.
We didn't see Kyrie hezzy tween cats into a casket.
That's not gonna beat Boston. Is the point?
I'm not saying it's gonna be Boston. That's
not. What's gonna happen the other way? What's gonna happen the other end?
I get your point. You're gonna say he can do that and they'll still lose. Okay, I get that. I'm not finna go as far as saying in Boston. I've been meaning to hype Boston's defense, and I'll do that in the next segment or whatever. That doesn't mean that they're not great defensively. It just means that Kyrie's still Kyrie. Nobody up here would be shocked if, let's say, the series goes 6 games.
No,
over the next 4 games,
I'd be shocked by that.
And
you think it's 4-1 now at this point?
Let's say over the next 3 games, Kyrie averages 28. Nobody out here will be shocked because it's Kyrie Irving.
I'm
saying we going back to Dallas.
That's cool. I still don't think he's the third best player in the series.
All right. Hey, and they played good defense. Derek White had that block on him. It was a possession where JT got a steal on him and whatnot. But for the most part, Kyrie's been getting the looks that he wants. He's just not making them.
He ain't. Everything he's been shooting is contested for the most part. What are you talking about?
That's the problem, Ron.
But Kyrie's always Kyrie's a tough shot maker. That's the life of a tough shot maker. You're gonna have stretches where they don't go in.
Well, he said, I just like
that's why I've always said, like, being a tough shot maker is a blessing and a curse, because when it goes in, all of a sudden you're the best player ever. And when it's missing, it looks kind of like it does with Kyrie right now, which is why I think the ability to generate good looks consistently is more valuable than tough shot making. But when it comes to the skilled aspect of it, Kyrie
Stop right there, Mars. Go back to what you just said. Please elaborate on that, because I don't think people understand the difference between being able to generate good looks and making tough shots. Please go back.
Yeah, I think
stay on that, please.
I think tough shot making is very noticeable, on the eye, and everyone can recognize, oh my god, that's a ridiculous shot. But the issue with tough shot making, especially when it's 95% of your shot diet, is they are tough shots, and just undoubtedly you're gonna miss them quite often. Whereas a guy for example, Giannis, who isn't as skilled as Kyrie offensively, but if you're able to consistently get a paint touch and you're able to consistently get to the front of the rim, that's inherently more valuable than consistent tough shot making, in my opinion. Unless you're a tough shot maker to the degree of a Steph Curry, KD, Kobe, those types. Unless you're a tough shot maker to that degree,
Mars,
generally
Kyrie's in that category.
And if you think Kyrie is in that category, I'm not gonna argue because I can't be bothered. But I think the difference between those guys is, even especially KD in his prime, Kobe in his prime, Steph. But Steph is kind of different, but he's an outstanding circumstance. I can talk about that in a minute if you want to. They're still able to generate the easy looks easier than Kyrie is. Some of it's because he's 6'2". Some of it's because he's not a great driver. I understand how good of a finisher he is. I'm not arguing against his finishing. But they actually getting to the rim consistently, he doesn't do that. And that's why I think there's a clear difference between Kyrie and Shea as offensive players. Because Shea is a tough shot maker, but Shea is also one of the best drivers in the league, and he's able to get to the rim at will.
You think Kyrie's a better offensive player than Shea, Ron?
No. Oh,
Ron.
Than Shea?
Better offensive player. Not scorer, Ron. Better offensive player.
I can't say that. Shea's 30 a night. He does it against any defense, and Shea got he got playmaking abilities too. I'm more high on Shea's
better than Irv. Better than Irv.
Yeah.
Kyrie's probably
so who's the worst? Who's the best player? Kyrie Irving, would you say, has a better offensive game than let's say offensive player? I think if you go Devin Booker, for instance, do you think Kyrie is on that level?
I'm high on D-Book too. Nah.
D-Book has similar issues to Kyrie. In terms of shot profile and tough shot making.
That's because he's slow.
What about Jalen Brunson?
A lot of it is quickness. With Kyrie, it's also length. He's athletic. He's not athletically advantaged, which is why I don't get why we're having skill discussions about him. The issue with him isn't his lack of skill; it's the lack of athleticism. A, as a 32-year-old, B, at his size, and C, with the personnel he's going up against. He's not lacking in the skill department. The skill is really what's keeping him if you want to say above water right now, which is even questionable. He's probably below water. But the skill is what's even making his head pop out the water. Like that's what's really happening right now. Because he's so skilled, he still has counters he can get to, but he's having to go to a second and third counter every single play because he can't just drive by someone. And he's a skilled driver. Like he knows the angles to take. He can get low. The pickups are all advanced. But at the end of the day, you still have to get a step. You have to get by someone. He can't do that consistently. And that's the issue.
I think Kyrie just excites us because he's just so explosive. You know, he'll have a game where he just goes on crazy runs, and you know he's just feeling it where he can get to certain spots and pull up and hit the jumper, get to the rim, right hand, left hand. He can make tough shots. He just excites us with his burst of explosive scoring, and he does that. And then we get over. I know I do. I get overexcited. I start seeing a 6'1" Kobe Bryant. I get I just lose my mind. And then for the next Bryant. And then the next 2-3 games, I'm just expecting Kyrie to go crazy, and when he doesn't, it's like, damn, you know, it's really high with me, or just really underwhelming.
Because he hasn't made a three in this series.
No, well, I'm unaware of that.
He's made one free throw and no threes this series.
But he doesn't get to the.
No, I'm saying, but that's what I'm saying. Like that's
and why is that?
Easy
because he's not a great driver, and he plays away. He plays away from contact because of his finesse game. He plays away from the contact and tries to finish. And then when it goes in, it's oh my god. But that's what I'm talking about. There's a difference between function and aesthetic. Test like everyone for me. Like when I say I'm an eye test person, it's not aesthetics. It's watching the game and seeing functionality and seeing nuances that the stat sheet won't show you. That's eye test to me. Now I understand eye test has been understood as heady tween. This guy's got a deeper bag. All of this. That's like to me, that's not what eye test is. So when I say eye test, I'm not talking about Kyrie's bag of all of these things. I'm talking about functionality. The reason Kyrie isn't as consistently of a high level like a guy like a Steph Curry, who the comparisons we're having a week ago, whatever, on Twitter or whatever.
Bro, he's averaging 14 points on a 37 true shooting with no made threes.
Yes,
that's horrible. I mean, that is horrible.
But it's also he's not going to be like. There's going to be a game where the tough shots are going in the conversation.
That's what I was about to. I want to get to that, Mars, because I don't want to get off of that what you just got finished talking about. Because when I think about a tough shot maker as opposed to a guy getting good looks, right, or making the game easier for themselves, wouldn't my tough shots demoralize the defense and collapse the defense and enable me to now get better looks? So, for example, a guy like Kyrie Irving, with getting to the basket or with getting to the mid-range and being able to knock down shots with a hand in his face. Well, now you got to switch up your defense. And in the process of you switching up your defense, I can manipulate your defense to now get more open shots, as opposed to it just being one-on-one where you consistently got a hand in my face and I'm knocking down tough shots, which is demoralizing your defense.
It depends on how defenses react. And like it's like the same issue with the Mavs role players. This is why I say 3-point percentage is deceiving. If someone's shooting 39% from three, but teams still aren't going to actually guard them, what value are you getting from that 39% 3-point shooter? Especially if they're not a willing 3-point shooter. Like Derrick Jones can shoot 42% on 3 attempts, but if teams still don't guard him and he's still only taking 3, that's 25 possessions a game where he's not providing you much value because he won't shoot the ball. So like, say it's similar with Kyrie. It's not just Kyrie, but in general. If you're a tough shot maker and you're making them, and defenses still aren't overexerting or over rotating or over helping, you're not really the value you're adding is because of the shot making, but you're not putting the defense in extra rotation. You're not commanding double teams. You're not getting other guys open with that. If they're still leaving you one-on-one or they're still not sending hard doubles and they're only shrinking the floor a little bit. So like the value you provide is about how you can make the defense rotate or react to you. And then what you can do off of that, which is why I think Steph is such a dangerous offensive player, because not just of how well he shoots, it's the reaction defenses have to the threat of him shooting.
Sure.
And that's why when Steph was having his slump, what was it, 2022 season, I remember I asked the question, whether it was on the regular Players Choice show or on the panel, what is the worst 3-point percentage Steph could have where teams would still guard him like he's Steph Curry?
28.
Like if Steph is a 32% 3-point shooter with his shot diet, a team's still gonna double him off a DHO. A team's still gonna blitz him in a high pick and roll. And if that's the case, he's still providing value at an extremely high level.
You could
despite
argue
the fact
Steph could
he's missing
make
shots.
0% from 3 and nothing would change.
Because he's just the fact that he's on the
Low
floor.
key sniper for real.
Yeah,
Like,
and that's what
honestly,
I'm
I'm
getting
not changing my
at.
coverage.
There's a level of inherent value you get just because of the threat you pose to defenses.
Sure.
Which is why when it comes to like these Derek Jones, Matisse Thybulle, Bilal Coulibaly shooters, they're still not providing spacing because teams aren't guarding them. Like you can shoot 40% from 3. If teams are conceding wide open threes to you, and you're still a reluctant shooter, even when you are wide open, you going 2 for 5 isn't providing much value on the court offensively, despite the fact the percentage says 40%. And that's the issue I think you kind of run in with Kyrie, is even when the shots are going in, if defenses aren't sending extra utility towards him or aren't doing those things, there's still a ceiling on the value that you're getting.
But the
and
defense
it's
is,
pretty
though,
much
Mars.
entirely dependent on the shot making.
But the defense is, though, Mars. And the reason why the defense is because we have our best defender on you. And you're occupied by our best defender all night. I mean, sure, Boston is a very
Who's your best
team.
defender?
I think it's Kyrie. I think it's Drew. I think
But I'm saying they got a couple arguments.
Yeah, but they can afford to
problem.
do that.
Yeah,
But
chill. It
but
doesn't
Boston-
really apply for Boston.
Boston's an
does.
outstanding circumstance in my
Sure, it does because they're really
Right.
switch heavy on the perimeter. However, my primary matchup is going to be Drew Holiday and Kyrie Irving. Whether we're in transition, I got to find him. Jason Tatum's not going to find him. Sure, Jaylen Brown might get switched onto him. But to my point, if you're occupied primarily by my best defender, that's going to weigh heavy on what your offense looks like. Because now, to your point, Swiper, when you're talking about hezzy tweens and bags, when you're occupied by my best defender, who is one of the smartest defenders, one of the most physical defenders, you now have to dig deeper into your bag. And you have to go deeper into your bag to get what you're trying to get against a guy like Drew Holiday. And it becomes much more difficult. Then you add into guys like Jason Tatum switching on to you, who's a bigger, more athletic guy. Then you get Jaylen Brown, who's also a bigger, more athletic guy. So when you do that kind of stuff, now that makes life really difficult. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Ron, I think Kyrie Irving against Drew Holiday, I think he's shooting less than 20%. I think he's 2 for 8 against Kyrie Irving. I mean, against Drew Holiday. When those two guys are together, when he's guarding him. So when you have a defender on you like that, and the stuff that you're normally used to getting, the spots that you're normally used to getting to, because we leave out also, Mars, that Drew Holiday is actually bigger than Kyrie Irving. Bigger than him, more physical.
6'4".
Yeah, bigger than him, more physical, beats him to spots. And ball players can attest to this. Ball handlers, primary ball handlers, they do not like to be touched. Get your hand off me. Get this guy's hand off me. They don't like that. That throws them off their rhythm. That throws them off of their game. And the fact that Drew Holiday is doing that to Kyrie Irving, whom, by the way, is one of the better scorers when he gets going, it's really affected him.
But it ain't even just Drew. JB had him locked up on the wing.
Yes, he did.
On
Yes,
that
he did.
24-second violation that they had.
Yeah.
Like, I'm saying, they got so many people that can throw at you at once. Now, the only one that's like a little iffy is Tatum, because he's just not as like agile in space as Derek and Drew and JB.
It's the player choice way. Yeah, them boys don't get it started. The player choice way. Yeah, the player choice way. Come and switch lanes into the player choice way.